Look at how fucking thick I look after training my
Dude, your neck actually looks pretty fucking big. That's funny.
My neck
Dude,
training is actually going nuts.
Good thing you're not wearing this fucking shirt, dude. The collar on here is so tight, you bust out the seams.
No, my neck is actually getting nasty. Look at that.
You doing some cable like head curls?
I wish. No, I'm just throwing a fucking plate on my forehead. I can do like a 35 now and just chunking on a
What's
bench.
the frequency at?
Twice
6
a week.
days a week?
No, I am scared of my neck getting too thick, but no, just twice a week. Just
Nick trains his neck to Mog, ends up with sleep apnea. He can't fucking breathe anymore when he's sleeping.
No, I actually posturally, breathing wise, my head feels great. My neck feels incredible. Like neck training is actually like a panacea.
Someone took just him saying head training feels great.
My neck game is nutty. Hello everyone and welcome back to Christmas Clean podcast. Yeah, that was terrible. Anyways, today we have joined together, me, Adam, and Mally, to talk about a subject that is on everyone's mind leading into nationals, which is what are we? Is it 12, 11 weeks now? Are we at 11 weeks? 12. Hey, it could be 3. And that subject is fear, right? I know that it's something that I deal with. I know that it's something that surely the two of you deal with. And as Adam was saying before this, I think it's something that pretty much every athlete is dealing with. I know all of my athletes leading into nationals have, not maybe particularly said that they're afraid, but they have showcased, some level of fear, heading into the meet, fear on performing, on how they'll do, and just this general concept of, right? And I think it's something that we can really dive into today. So it's something I want to dive into today. So let's just initially talk about ourselves, going into this meet. Mally, how scared are you?
I'm not scared. I don't care
You're
anymore.
a lying son of a bitch.
I don't care anymore. I'm either gonna do good or I'm gonna get rocked, and that's the reality of the situation. So I don't really care about. I'm not scared about competing or showing up or winning or losing. I know I do shit enough to make sure I'm gonna be ready. So I'm not scared.
Does that come from experience? Like, were you? Let's go back to a meet that you were scared at, because we can't, like, you've had a long career at this point. You can't tell me that there's never been a meet you've been afraid to go into.
Yeah.
Right. So have you sort of learned how to overcome that fear, deal with it? Like, it's got to be there. I won't believe you in just saying that there's no fear at all. There's got to be something there, or that was there, that you've learned how to overcome, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm saying I'm not scared, but closer to it, nervousness starts kicking in. You're like, did I do enough? Am I ready? How is everyone else looking? Like, those kind of things start coming into your brain a little bit, especially on a cut. When you're at 100 carbs, your brain starts talking to you in really funny ways. That's definitely going to happen. But yeah, in the past, I've had fears of doing really bad, embarrassing myself. But I think it came from knowing that I'm going to lose, that I'm not even going to come top 10. When I was really bad, I'd be more scared because I was not good enough at all, but I wanted to beat the best. But I'm like, I'm not even close. In the back of my head, I'm like, I'm not even close, but I still want to win. So I was scared of showing up or even doing it, because I was like, what the hell is the point? So when you're saying clients are scared, or my clients are even afraid of going to Nats or not doing good, I think it comes from a place of they want to be the best, but they're not close. So they're even more scared of just like embarrassing themselves. But what I tell them is that it doesn't really matter, because you just have to accept that you're not going to win and do it for yourself this time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't subscribe to this at all.
I thought in my mind, it's the complete opposite, right? Like if you're certain that you're not going to win, I feel like it's almost less stressful. It's more of a, let me do this meet for myself, see if I can beat my past self kind of thing. I find meets always get more stressful the better you get. When you're in contention to win, you're close to these other guys. In my mind, that's a more.
But is that fear or is that pressure? Is that fear or pressure?
I think we're kind of talking about fear, pressure, self-doubt as an all-encompassing thing here, if I'm understanding correctly, right, Nick? Kind of just
So the way I would define fear is just, that sort of idea that things could go badly, that you could lose, right?
Yeah.
So that is pressure in and of itself. Like, I think what Adam was saying too, like for myself, I know that the first nationals I ever went to, I was not going to win, right? I was slotted as like 10th. I think I ended up coming like 7th or whatever. Nothing. I just went in there and I was like, it's going to be fun. Maybe I pull something cool. Maybe I don't, whatever. The next nationals, I was in contention to win. And I actually don't know if I've ever talked about this. It's not like it really matters. But before flying out, when I was packing my bag, I got so overwhelmed with the just anxiety of it all that I straight up had a breakdown with like fetal position in my bedroom and like just cried. My parents had to come in and be like, you don't have to go. And I was like, I have to. I want to. But like, I could lose. But I also could win, right? You can't really lose if you're never in potential to win. And I think that's where that fear comes into. I did lose. I ended up coming second. And it sucked. But that is something that now, obviously, I don't have breakdowns anymore. I mean, maybe not obviously, but there is still that fear that, like Adam said, it only gets stronger the higher you get. And for me, it's not that that fear has been reduced. If anything, it's scarier now than ever because there are expectations on me. There is that potential that, look, I've invested more time than I ever have. The years have gone by. The clock is ticking. I may not have another chance. But my experience with dealing with that fear has grown to the point that I can now showcase some level of bravery, frankly, leading into it, where it's just, yeah, there is that fear. It does feel very daunting, but I've done it before, right? I've gone into this. I've handled this in the past. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me now, the scariest moments just in my life are going right into third pulls, right? When it's like, if I make one little mistake, one little error, 10 years of my life down the fucking drain, right? But if I don't make an error, I win. And it's terrifying. It's the scariest shit on earth. It feels like you're just about to jump out of an airplane. I don't know how Mally doesn't have this.
I don't know. I can't. I was thinking about this because you told us this topic fear a few days ago. So I've been thinking about, because I knew this would come up, and I was like, am I scared? Do I get scared? And I don't know what it is. I just don't have this fear of failing. I just have this confidence that I'm doing everything I can. I don't know how to, it's hard to explain because if I feel like a fear thing, of course, there's the fear thing in your brain that kind of, if you wrap into it and if you let it happen, which is obviously now with experience, you don't, but if you wrap into that fear, you can't really break through to what you're supposed to do. So I almost like have got to the point with training in life where I just don't give a fuck. I'm not scared. I'll die today, but because I know I tried at everything I did. I don't get scared about shit anymore. The only thing I get scared about is maybe if my family's safe. That's the only fucking thing I'm getting scared about. I don't know. It's competing. I can't get scared. If I lose, there's maybe a little bit of fear of disappointing my family and my girlfriend and people like that because I spend so much time on this shit. There's maybe an ounce of that, but to care what the powerlifting community fucking thinks about me, or to care what a competitor thinks about me, I don't give a fuck because I know I do more than them all the time.
All right, I got a question for Mal, and this is kind of just to lead me on to maybe a learning lesson, because I think I know what your answer is going to be. But are you concerned at all about what your competitors are doing leading into a competition?
I mean, I'm strategic, so I do keep an eye out, and I know what they're doing, because I think that's what it's like going into a sport and not knowing what your competitor is capable of. That's stupid. So yes, I do keep an eye out, and I think any good athlete does. But do I trip myself out during prep and load stupid shit? No. Do I change the game plan because you're doing something? No. I'm going to play my game, and I know it's down to the third pull of who executes and who doesn't. So that's about it. And I have to be ready to execute.
Exactly what I was thinking you were going to say. And I think this is a good lesson for anyone early on in their powerlifting career. And the only reason I know this is because I dealt with these same struggles early on in my powerlifting career, where leading up into a big meet, a high pressure meet, we're worried. Sometimes we keep too close of an eye on our competitors and obsess over what they're doing. And that leads us to making poor decisions throughout prep that are going to lead to a really bad game day performance. So I think the fundamental lesson and things we're going to talk about throughout this podcast is, how do we navigate the fear, and how can we make sure that we're still setting ourselves up for success on meet day, even feeling that pressure on us. And I think Mal really hit home there, is like, it's okay to be anxious, but we can't we can't have that lead to making poor decisions in prep, because that's just going to set you up for failure.
Yeah, I think there was.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, not me. You go ahead.
Okay. When I was kind of researching fear a little bit before we did this podcast, and a lot of things like say, and I think we can all relate to this, is that fear is something that everybody has in some sort. It either shows up as nervousness.
You just said you don't have fear.
In some point, I've had fear in my life. I've had fear of failing in my life before, right? And you have to win that battle to push through. There has to be this breakthrough, like you broke through that. If you stayed in that bed and didn't show up, you would have probably never got to the points of powerlifting, or even now through training, like the last year and a half you've had of shitness. If you didn't get through that and got scared of like, am I going to snap my back the next time I load this weight? If you get scared of that and you don't break through that mentality, you're never going to get to the next point. But the more times you win that battle, the more times you don't feel fear.
Yeah, something that's always resonated with me is, this idea that, bravery is a very valued virtue, I think. I don't know if anyone would ever say, I don't really care for brave people. I think everybody wants to be brave. And you cannot be brave in the absence of fear. For whatever reason, this is a complete tangent. I always think of, I never even played the games. I always think of Link in Zelda whenever you make him do a large jump, because he screams so loud, but he still does it. He still jumps. And I think that there's something there where it's like, you don't want to jump. You don't want to go down the Deku tree, but you gotta, right? And that's why Link is the hero. He's brave. You just have to sort of, trust that when you take that jump, you'll land, right? And this is sort of going to lead into what Adam talked about in sort of trusting the process and not letting your decisions be, dictated by fear. I think, honestly, you can let them be fueled a bit by fear. I think that anxiety can drive you to a certain extent. If you aren't afraid of failure, then perhaps you never get that push you need to succeed. But if you allow your decisions to just be, fear-driven, wherein I'm really scared that this will happen, so we need to do this instead, and sometimes that has a sort of emotional override away from rationality, that's when it can become detrimental the progress in preps, right? This is where preps just straight up die. And this, I think, is where, frankly, coaching has the most value. I think when it comes to, emotional and mental lifters that become very, very, frankly, inexperienced and terrified during a prep that finally means something and matters, having someone in your corner that has walked the walk and has that experience and is able to tell you, look, I've been here, I can empathize with you, and I also know what it's like to be on the other side. Here's how you deal with it. I think that's when, we've talked before in this podcast over whether or not your coach needs to be a high-level lifter, and I think we all kind of agreed that you don't. But I do think that in these moments, there is a profound amount of value in having someone in your corner that's done it, right? And is able to just be like, yeah, I get it, right? Because I have some lifters right now going into nationals where, they're 12 weeks out, 13 weeks out, and they're like, what if I don't achieve my goals? What if I don't podium? What if I don't win? Sometimes their goals are, I want to get to internationals. What if I'm not able to do that because I just mess up at St. John's? And being in that position, I can tell them, you just got to go anyways. You got to trust in the process. Don't change anything. Show up, and maybe you lose, right? Maybe you don't make it, but that will only embolden you in the future to try again, right? I know this is something that I've struggled with because I am self-coached. So in those first couple scenarios, I just didn't have this, right? I went into that meet.
Nick just talks to himself in the mirror.
No, I just cried. I just cried like a bitch. All right. 19-year-old me just sat on the floor going, I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose. What if I lose? I'm so scared. And then I lost. And it sucked. And now that I, have that experience, even programming myself and making training decisions and all that, I still have to, have that conversation with myself very often. Is this the right decision? Like, am I going to over push myself to a point of snapping, which I often do, or is this the right amount of push necessary to win the competition against, some killers and dogs? Like, I need to, find that process. And any decision I make, because I am self-coached, I just need to absolutely trust it. I need to be brave in that decision. Every training decision I make, especially considering I'm coming out of a snap, I still don't feel 100%. It is wrought with fear, right? That I am only able to then overcome because I have enough experience to be brave in those moments, right?
I got a question.
Okay,
I got a question because I actually got this asked, and I was kind of talking to someone about fear of taking heavy sets and them being scared to get hurt because there's no spotter or whatever like that, or they're just scared of loading something they've never loaded before because they're getting stronger. How do you deal with? Oh, sorry. They counter asked me. They said, "Okay, I get it. You're coming from a level of experience. What would you tell a beginner or an intermediate? Because there are a lot of intermediates and beginners going to nationals. What would you tell someone like that who's scared to load hard sets coming up to nats? Like, how do you deal with it?"
Welcome to the sport. The sport is lifting heavy weight. It's scary, right? Like, at some point, hopefully your goal is to put enough weight on your back that it could kill you. And you have to squat that. And that's the sport. That's what you sign up for. And I think that if that's something that it's too scary for you and you never want to deal with it, I just don't know if this is a sport for you. Just straight up, right? Will you ever succeed if you are not touching weights that could frankly hurt you? Right? There is no high performance without risk. You need to be, honestly, it's a healthy fear to have. And it's a fear that you need to accept. But it's a fear that you need to be brave in. Because it's the same thing as honestly, apparently they don't have any fear, but do you think like a free soloist doesn't have fear? Like they're going up a fucking mountain and like if they slip up, they could die, but that drives them, and that's the sport, right? Like any high performance athlete, I'm sure, has some level of fear that drives them, and they have to just be brave in that. And if you can't cope with that, and overcome that, it will always hold you back. So I would just tell them, load it. Welcome to the sport. It's going to be really scary. Maybe you freak out and you dive bomb it, and then you scream and your spotters get you up, but then you do it again. And it's fun. I think it's fun. Now, what I was trying to say before is that you guys both have had coaches going into preps. How much have you leaned into them, if it does come to fear? I mean, I guess Mally, he's never experienced fear. He's never watched Hereditary and then walked around his house at 2 a.m. with the lights off. Adam has experienced some fear because he's human. Have you talked to your coach at all about that? Have you reached out for that, or is that more of an internal, struggle and debate?
I don't know if I've communicated that it was based out of fear, but I've definitely been in preps where, let's say we look back at 2023 Nationals, it was a legendary time. I was going up against Nick Manders and Kathleen, and it was a big meet. I was going up against two really strong people, and both of them have massive deadlifts, and I was seeing them pull massive weights in prep. So it was worrisome at times, seeing these guys pull much more than I could pull, and they're going to have the final say in the meet. And I reached out to Tim a couple of times because Tim Monagatti was coaching me at the time, and I was like, maybe we adjust next week's load, maybe we go a little bit heavier, right? So I was having these conversations probably based out of fear, probably based out of a little self-doubt, trying to rush the process a little bit because of that. But the beautiful thing about having a coach, like Nick said, is most of the time they're going to be data driven, right? I can reach out to him. Hey, Tim, I want to go back. I want to go up in weight. And then I would have Tim humble me a little bit. And it's like, hey, we have the data. It supports us moving through the block like this. And we found this kind of success at the end of the block. I think we should stick to the path that we know works. And it kept me honest throughout prep. It stopped me from making those bad decisions early on in prep. And I showed up to that meet and I did good because of that. I didn't win. I lost to Nick on body weight, but I hit a squat PB on the platform. I hit a bench PB. I hit a deadlift PB. And I think if I didn't have a coach at the time to hold up, wait a minute, let's think this through a little bit, I might not have ended up where I did on that day. So I think it's immensely valuable to have someone to question you, guide you, and make sure you're making the right decisions in high pressure times 100%, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question or did
No,
I
you absolutely did. You absolutely did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mal, you want to add on to anything there? Because
I was just thinking about like coaching and stuff. Before Tim, there was a coach that I had, Austin Ryan, and I'd snap my hips like a couple times with him, and I hadn't competed for a few years because I just kept getting hurt, and it was COVID, so it was a weird time. But then coming into I snapped my hip again like 4 weeks out, and I remember talking to Austin about that one and being like, dude, I'm scared I'm gonna snap my fucking shit again, and I'm scared I'm gonna do like less than the Nats QT because I'm squatting 2 plates right now. And he just told me that he's like, no, we've built a different breed over the last couple of years. You're still gonna do good. And I don't know, I just believed it. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was enough for me to believe that, maybe I'll be fine. And it wasn't a good meet. I didn't do good at all. But I didn't PR anything. I didn't do anything, but I didn't do worse than the Nats QT. It was kind of a breakthrough mentally for me to go, yeah, I can keep going, kind of thing. So no, I was a little bit scared then for sure because I didn't want to keep fucking snapping my shit.
I think that going into preps either injured or injuring yourself during that prep can just be terrifying, because what if I re-injure myself? What if I show up and just have a terrible meet? I mean, everyone goes into every meet thinking this is going to be the one. This is my dream meet. And then, you hurt your back 4 weeks out and you're like, now what? And I, like Mally was saying well at the beginning about like being deeply afraid of going into these meets and just sort of, you know, having a disappointing performance, not showing up at the top of your class. I do think that if we look at a lifter's career in the long span and, you know, talking about experience and all this, showing up to those meets regardless of how you may or may not do is the only way to start building up this sort of quote unquote bravery, right? Showing up and going, okay, my hip kind of hurts. I'm probably going to need to slam a bunch of ibuprofen for this meet. Not going to hit the numbers I was dreaming of 12 weeks ago. And it might be embarrassing. That's like the most scary set of parameters we could have leading into a meet. And it's probably the best time to start developing that bravery, in my opinion. I think it's super vital to show up to these meets and continue to give it your all within, you know, the smart constraints of let's try not to re-injure ourselves, but still try to actually put up as best numbers as we are capable of on the day, because long term, that develops a crucial mental skill that if you're trying to develop that when it comes down to, hey, this is the third pull for Nats. If you make it, you win. If you don't, you don't. And that's when you have to start facing your fears. You're going to crumble, right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy that I've showed up to every single meet that I've been injured for, and I've just went, let's try. Let's really try. Because now when I get injured in prep into a meet, or even show up healthy, but it's a very close battle, I've done this before. It's simple exposure therapy. Right? I have felt this anxiety before. I have this weird thing where I can start to feel my heartbeat in my ass. I vividly remember this at 2023 Nats when I had to pull something to beat Adam and Caffrey. I couldn't hear anything. I could just feel my ass pulsating with my heart. And if I wasn't prepared for that, I would be like, this is really fucking scary. I don't like this feeling. It's really uncomfortable. But I felt it before. So I was like, yeah, let's just settle into this groove. Just find yourself in it and go be brave. Bravery is a skill like anything else. And I think that you need to put yourself into fearful situations to develop that. Not just for powerlifting, for life. But we won't get into that because who the fuck am I? Right?
Yeah, it's like we get better at everything, not only training and getting stronger, but everything through repetition, right?
Yes.
We get better at things through repetition 100%. One thing I want to circle back on quickly, because I actually think it was a little bit of a lost gem in what Nick said, is we need to, all the fear and pressure, you know, we're seeing our competitors lift heavy in prep and it's creating a little bit of self-doubt, whatever. Use that and allow it to drive you to do the right things with more intensity, right? Dial in your nutrition. Like, hey, we're not skipping meals or we're eating our meals perfectly. We're getting to bed on time, right? We're making sure we're following the program to a T. Use it to drive you to do everything that you should be doing perfectly rather than deviating away from the plan. I think that was a lost gem in what Nick said early on, so I just wanted to repeat it quickly.
Yeah, I mean, again, like what Mally said well at the beginning, people will have a tendency to feel this embarrassment. And, you know, there's that fear of failure that is so embarrassing that people give up. And to be frank, maybe like this is obvious on the outside looking in, but in the moment, you need to remind yourself of this. There is nothing embarrassing about being brave. Like I said, it is a virtue that people like. There is absolutely something to be embarrassed of going, what if I fail and self-sabotaging? That's the most embarrassing thing you can do. But you see it time and time again, where someone's like, I don't feel great. I don't know if I'm going to win. What if I give up? Hey, because then I won't lose if I give up. And it's like, you lost way earlier. You look like a bitch. And it's the most embarrassing thing. I have lost respect for individuals over this because I see it happen. They're like, my prep isn't going great. That person's prep on Instagram is going better. What if I just clock out? You know, because then I can't lose because I didn't try. And it's like, trying is awesome. If you try, but you fail, it's respectable. If you don't try, you've already failed and you failed yourself. And it's so much worse.
Yeah.
You should never be afraid of trying.
Those guys are losers.
Absolute fucking bozos.
And yeah, and I've talked about this before. I don't know if I've talked about it on a podcast, but yeah, like checking out a few weeks out because you kind of decide that you're already done because you're going to lose and you're scared and your fear won the battle. And people will use it as an excuse. I don't know. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't try. Did it token me or got hurt or something happened and externally that just hit the fan." And then that's an excuse for them to say, "Oh, they only won because of this." Like discredit someone who won.
Imagine if I tried.
Yeah. Imagine if I tried, like imagine if I didn't step on that fucking nail coming out of my fucking shed the other day. 7 weeks
What
ago.
the fuck?
That sounds like a real excuse, low key.
But that would kind of hurt actually. I don't know if I could.
Yeah, I would give him. I'd be like, man, that sucks. That sucks.
That'd be kind of ass actually. But I don't know. I think powerlifting is a unique thing where it's not like hockey or basketball where you get 7 tries in the finals. You get 1 try, 1 day, where everyone knows the time, everyone knows the date. We all have to show up at the same time. So if you don't show up because you didn't try hard enough or because you're just scared, then you lost. If you got hurt, if you didn't make weight, if you missed a lift, you just weren't good enough for the day. Everyone has the same fucking day. It's the same shit. So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that too much, but I'm just saying that if you be doing that, you're a bitch.
All right, I'm gonna take the conversation somewhere else quickly. Now, I think something really valuable for powerlifters going through preps and feeling fear is you can figure out strategies to deal with it, right? Like, so for example, I'm pretty good at handling this stuff. I use it well. Like if I see my competitors doing big lifts, it motivates me to do what I'm doing better. I have no problem with it. I have no problem looking at what my competitors are doing. But let's say there's someone else who, when they go through a prep and they see what the other competitors are doing and it's leading to them making bad training decisions. Well, this is a lesson we can learn. We can pull who was it, Bryce Lewis? He would just unfollow all his competitors going into a meet. And that's what he needed to do. That's how he needed to deal with his fear. And it was a great strategy for him, right? So we don't all need to deal with fear in the same way. You can develop your own strategies to navigate through it, and it's going to be different for everyone. But if you're seeing your competitors do something as a huge detriment to your prep, well, find strategies to move around that, right? Do you guys remember Bryce Lewis posting about that a couple times?
Yeah.
I remember Bryce Lewis, and I remember the things he would use to post. And honestly, I tried to get a lot of them out of my mind. All respect to Bryce Lewis. I actually enjoyed some of his philosophical takes. But I think when he posted that picture of him, nude in fetal position, I was like, there's an artistry here that I'm just not understanding. And it's vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. But maybe just myself as an athlete, there's such an unrelatability there that maybe as a self-defense mechanism, I tried to strike it from my mind because I'm the complete opposite. I cannot imagine unfollowing my competitors and just feeling like I'm in my little bubble because, talking about fear, I cannot imagine a more terrifying wake-up call than being like, I've had a really good prep. I feel really good. And then I go to my meet and I look at the scoreboard and I'm dead last. I'm just like, I don't know how to cope with this.
Yeah.
I feel like it all hit me at once.
Yeah, it definitely was unique. And like I said, I'm more on Nick's side here. I don't deal with these issues, but for him, it seemed like it worked. So I don't want to cast judgment on it. Like whatever you need to do. But the big thing is like, you can only figure those things out through doing it, right? Like he only figured out that was productive for him because he probably fucked up so many meets before that, obsessing over what his competitors were doing. Now there's probably some like fundamental like emotional skills that we should develop if it's having that much of an effect on you, seeing what your competitors are doing. That's another conversation. But find strategies to help you navigate through it, right? And it's not going to be the same for each lifter, and that can only be developed through time.
Yeah, like whatever that may be. I think that, talking about social media, it's such a big thing now, right? It's our main source of scouting. right? Into a competition, it's the classic find the roster, look at everyone's Instagram, see what their posting looks like, right? And however you choose to navigate that as an athlete, I think is up to you, right? Like, my classic fucking 800 pole tactical advantage thing, that came from the Canadian coaching staff saying that, like, we want to hide our own training for the tactical advantage of the other lifters not knowing what our numbers were. And I threw that up partially because, I thought it was really funny and it was really cool, but also secondarily, there was an aspect of me that tries to scare my opponents, right? In that, like, look how much weight I'm lifting. Can you match it? Can you do anything about this? Give up now, right? Try to get in their head early. But I'm saying that now kind of as a mask off moment, because I'll also now say that, like, I posted that pretty injured, right? I injured myself right after that 800 pull. So if anything, I was trying to
How'd you hurt yourself? How'd you hurt yourself, Nick?
I kicked the shit out of a deadlift jack and hurt my foot, and then compensated doing back downs and hurt my back almost instantly. Beautiful play. Tactical advantage maxed. But anyways, I say this as a mask off moment because I now recognize this as a potential play that lifters can make, where it's like, I just don't trust anything people post online, right? Emma was doing this forever, where he would post like a 320 pull and it would look kind of bad because it was the last set of like a back down, and people would be like, oh my God, his pull sucks. And then he'd go and rip 50 kilos more. And it's like, lifters get to choose what they post. Whatever goes on their feed is selected.
It's curated to make them look like
whatever they do on the meet is not, right?
Yeah.
So for me now, I just completely, I don't ignore their Instagram, but I take it with such a massive grain of salt because I know I used to try to use it to get in other lifters' heads. So like Sun Tzu, it doesn't work on me anymore, right? It's just, hey, these could either be great lifts and they're from like a year ago, or like you just injured yourself, or this is just what it is. And, who knows? We'll know on meet day. So I think that this is a valuable takeaway to have as a lifter, to just, if you get very overwhelmed on social media, what you're seeing, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if you guys watched his stories, but, Austin Perkins, I guess, just abuses pain, or I was going to say painkillers like it's fucking like fentanyl, but he's just constantly slamming, what is it? It's
Aleve. It's Aleve.
Yeah, it was Aleve. It was Aleve. And
Yeah,
it's
it's Aleve.
in my opinion, I would never post that. I don't want my competition rather to know I'm in that much pain, because if I was, a 74 up and coming, that would give me hope, because I'd be like, this man could snap any day now. And if a person snaps, they might be out for a year, at least myself. So you never, what I'm trying to get at is you never really know, unless like you're intimately familiar with them as an individual, what's going on behind the scenes. So Instagram is just, I wouldn't say it's not an accurate scouting tool, but I will say that if you are seeing your competitors and just getting, hopeless over whatever they've decided to show you, you kind of lost the battle.
Mm-hmm.
You got to win that. You got to be better than that. You know what I'm saying, Mally? I mean, you don't care. You don't.
I'm just thinking about Perk. Maybe Perk is just posting it to fuck with people. Maybe he's like, Joe honest, and he's like, yo.
That's a level of 5D chess.
No, I'm kidding. No, I get that because, Clifton's a perfect example for me because he signed up as a 74. He's had a couple of bad meets. He's kind of showing on social media right now that maybe I'm going to 74, maybe I'm going to 66. And it's easy for me to
wait. Don't come to 74. I'm going to cook your ass.
He signed up at 74 right now, but he might, if I let it get to me, it could be like, oh, Clifton's going to 74. Fuck, easy. I don't have to care. The best guy's not there. right?
You know what's hilarious
or-
about that? You know what's hilarious about that? He can't even fill out 66. He's going 74. What are we talking about?
He's going to eat a
yeah.
lot of hot dogs.
Like
He's going
dude,
to be eating
he's
like
gonna have to
7
eat
hot dogs
a lot
a day.
sorry to cut you off, Mally, but the funniest thing to me is like these guys are trying to like they think they're playing mind games, right? Like I saw Jeremy signed up as an 83. I'm like, bro, how stupid do you think we're not idiots, bro? This just makes you look dumb, dude. It just makes you look dumb. Like play smart games, not this like
putting a story of like feels good to eat more food or be in a surplus. Like that's what, I'm like, bro, we like I don't know, maybe it's, me and Adam, I know we're in the same mindset with this shit, but we tell ourselves that they're showing up at their best. Because when Nick was hurt for a prep, Adam would be like, no, Nick's fucking good. I don't give a shit. Nick's fine. Nick's fine. Nick's gonna show up at 100%. It's just a play. So what I'm trying to get at is if you're trying to maybe if you're falling into the trap of social media, it might turn you to be complacent or it might turn you to be fearful. But maybe you gotta gaslight yourself a little bit. Like Clifton might be a 66, he might be a 74, but I'm telling myself Clifton is going to come in and total 750 at 66. That's what I'm telling myself, and that means I gotta work my fucking ass off. So, and then if he does that, I'm gonna get rocked. But if that's what I'm telling myself. Pardon?
Does that scare
me? It doesn't scare me. It drives me to train and try.
But why? What part of that drives you? Is it just the thrill of competition, or is it that you?
It's the thrill of competition, and I want to do nothing but beat the best. So I want to beat him. So if he's going to show up, I need to be ready. So again, I just need to. But I'm not going to fucking load. I've planned this prep and planned the numbers about 20 weeks out, and I'm trying to hit them as close to as I can with taking day by day. Every day, and I'm gonna keep doing that. It doesn't matter what he does. He just did whatever. I know exactly what he's doing in training. Whatever he posts, it's in my brain. I know his data. I know what he's capable of. I know what Carlos is capable of. I know everything about them as much as I can, but that doesn't change what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, one thing I will say, because Mel touched on it, I do think there's two kinds of people in prep. There's one kind of person who preys on their competitor's downfall, and they're like, I hope they get hurt, and they're kind of banking on that. And then there's the other competitor who's like, oh, they're going to show up ready, and I want that. You know, I'm showing up ready for war with them. I'm in the latter. I'm in that group. I've never related to people who are like, maybe they'll get hurt, or they're like banking on that. You lost. It's over. Right? So I've always been motivated by the pressure of, like Mal touched on, when Nick was talking about being hurt a couple times in prep, Mal and I trained together, and I was like, he's lying. He's hiding it. He's pulling 800.
I was not.
He wasn't, but that's what I was telling myself because I thrive off that. I feed off of it. Made me want to train harder, get my meals in, sleep better. So use it as a tool.
Yeah, I think that ultimately what we're getting at is you do have a choice between bravery or fear, right? And sometimes making that choice does come around to sort of situating your environment. In this case, how do you view your competitors, right? Do you view them in a sort of fearful light where you're afraid that they'll be better than you or that they will, frankly beat you? Or are you able to then redefine that perspective of them into something constructive for yourself, be that within training or be that within simply showing up with a can-do attitude, right? Which sounds really dumb, but genuinely. Because for myself, right, I'm, if we're talking about do I wish downfall on my competitors? Yes. But I don't expect them to, right? I expect them to show up 100% every time. I don't want them to because that's scary. But I'm ready for them to do it because they will. And I need to face that fear that they'll show up healthy and ready. And I need to just say to myself, I will show up readier. Probably not healthier, given my history. But, I'll fight, right? And I think that that's a choice that you need to make. And enough people, frankly, to even justify making this episode, don't see it as a choice. I think that they become afraid and they're just, this is what I am now. I'm too scared to show up. I'm too scared to train. I'm too scared to give it my all. I'm too scared to earnestly give a fuck and go to try to win. And that's the purpose behind everything that we've talked about is you got to choose to be brave. You have to choose to show up anyways, both in training and in competition, face those fears and give it your best, because the alternative is losing. And no one wants to be a fucking loser. You guys have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that was perfect.
I think that was good.
All right, well, that wraps up episode, whatever the fuck this is, of the Clean Strength podcast. Are we doing another one? Are we doing a Christmas special? Are we doing a Christmas special? Do you guys want to do? Is there anything to talk about on a Christmas special?
Yeah, let's do a Christmas special.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll wear I'll wear red.
Well, join us next time on the Clean Strength Christmas special, where I have no idea. We'll do a naughty or nice list. We'll do something. Everyone's getting coal. Remember when we did shirts and they were colored coal or snow because black and white? That was my idea. So I'm getting not coal because I was a good boy. See you guys on the next episode of the Clean Strength podcast. Goodbye.